I'm very honored and privileged to present Lieutenant Governor John Garamendi.
Mark, thank you very much. Somebody said I ought to get some carbon credits and start buying. Actually, I have my own airline, Southwest. Whenever they're ready to go, I'm supposed to be there. It's good to be with you today. This is really, really important stuff. What you're doing here is very, very important. As I was flying up on Southwest from Los Angeles, it occurred to me that some time ago I read a book about another competition that took place about 400 years ago. You remember that one? Yeah, I think some of you might. About 400 years ago, the age of exploration was underway, or maybe we should just call it the age of domination. And what was going on was they had no idea where they were as they were sailing their ships on the oceans. They couldn't figure it out. They can kind of figure out how far north they were or south, but they couldn't figure out how far east or west. And so this little problem presented the Admiralty with an opportunity for a competition. And they started off with this competition saying, help us figure out how to create a clock that could keep accurate time while bouncing over the ocean waves and being sloshed around with salt water and the rest. And so the competition went on, and eventually someone came up with a clock that seemed to serve the purpose. And the Admiralty say, okay, you won, now we have our chronometer, and we can now figure out where we are in the ocean, and we will dominate the world. And they did. However, the fellow that figured out how to build this clock spent the next 30 years trying to get paid. So, venture capital folks, payday, where's payday? Well, the payday is here for America when you figure out, all of you out there that are in this space, figure out how to deal with this. We have a huge problem, folks, in this world. We have a huge problem. It's called climate change, and it's coming down on us in a very rising ocean. Some of us in the Bay Area have seen the maps about what happens when the Pacific Ocean rises a little bit. Yeah. It's going to get really damp. And for those of you that enjoy drinking water in the Silicon Valley and having all that water for your plants and your manufacturing systems, you're going to just love the salt water that's pumped down the Central Valley water system and into the San Felipe project, because that's what's going to happen. The sea level rises, we're going to have salt water in the Central Delta, and it won't work because, you know, things don't grow too well. And businesses don't grow too well when you're sucking salt water into your pipes. But that's what's going to happen. Surely there must be a hydrologist out there that understands you raise the Pacific Ocean 6 inches or a foot, and you got salt water in the Central Delta, the California water system doesn't work, the federal water project doesn't work, and we got problems. It comes back to a fundamental flaw in our energy policy here in the United States. That flaw we didn't notice for a long, long time because we can kind of go on our merry, merry way and consume all kinds of carbon energy products, whether they're coal or gasoline or oil or whatever it happened to be. Burn wood, who cares? No problem. The atmosphere can absorb it, and we'll just continue with this energy policy. And to this day, this nation hasn't yet sufficiently changed its energy policy to establish the groundwork for a new energy world in which we have to go into. So if it's just the rising of the ocean you care about, well, that's important. But for those of you that like to drink the Hetch Hetchy water, 30 to 70% less snowfall in the Sierra Nevada mountains. We got a problem, folks. We got a real problem here. And if you happen to be in the space of healthcare, you're going to love tropical diseases in the Central Valley of California and along certain coastal areas of California. Major fundamental changes. So what are we going to do about it? Well, we'll have a clean tech open. And we'll create all kinds of new companies that will suddenly spring forth and solve the problem. Yes and no. Yes, the problem, that is, the solutions for the problems will be found, but until there's a fundamental change in the policies of this nation and other nations about how we fuel our economy, the problem won't be solved. So what I want all of you to do is to go for it. I want you to dream up all the great ideas about how we can transport people and goods across our vast spaces and find ways for us to move in an environmentally friendly way, people and goods. But that won't solve the problem. I want you to dream up all kinds of wonderful ways about how we can collect energy. And as you say, store it. Algae. Wonderful ideas. But as long as we're wedded to a fuel economy based upon carbon, we're not going to deal with the fundamental issue. And so our challenge is not only to do as you're doing today with your Clean Tech Open and develop all these marvelous ideas, and for the venture capital world to throw money? No, invest money. Invest in these marvelous ideas. While we're doing that, we as a human society have to come to grips with the fundamental reality that the public policy, sometimes called government, laws, regulations, that fundamental public policy has to change. And until it does, these ideas will not mature and flourish and be the solution to a crisis in our climate. So as we do this, scurrying around, writing our business plans, figuring out how we can put together these ideas, we ought to also spend time dealing with the fundamentals of politics and public policy, because these two things come together. And when they come together, there will indeed be a solution to the problem of climate change and the necessity of clean technologies in all of the fields that you're discussing here, in all of those 5 categories of transportation and fuel and storage and the rest. So are we ready for that challenge? Well, apparently in this room there are numerous companies that say we've got to move on the inventive side of this coin. We've got to figure out all of the new ways in which it can be done. And that is wonderful, and that's terribly, terribly important. If those same very powerful companies whose names I saw up there and see in the brochure are willing to also invest in the political process to fundamentally change this nation's public policy on energy, then your companies, and your final words up here, Raj, they have to be in the maximum growth area. Change the fundamental policies of this nation's energy, and you will have extraordinary growth companies. So that's our challenge, a dual challenge today. The Clean Tech Open, oh, the ideas are flowing out of your minds already, the hopes and dreams. And the final words of a meeting that I had in Silicon Valley about 4 weeks ago now, in which one of the high-tech companies' CEOs came up to me and said, "This is where we take an idea and make money." Terrific. Okay? And I suspect there are a lot of dreamers in our crowd, and there are a lot of investors in our crowd that will take an idea and you'll make a lot of money. And coupled with appropriate public policy, those ideas will not only make a lot of money for the entrepreneurs and the investors, but it will also give us a solution to the fundamental crisis of our time and future generations, the crisis of climate change. So go for it, folks. Help solve the problem, and at the same time, invest your efforts in the political changes of the public policy that must accompany the ideas that you're putting forth. Thank you so very much. I look forward to seeing the winners in the August and October period. Thank you very much.